Okay, well, hey, welcome back. This is New South Christians. It's a podcast that's been going on for a little over a year and a half. And I got to tell you, I've been excited about everybody we've ever had on the show. But today, I'm going to be honest with you, I have no clue what's going to happen. But I have no doubt Sierra Sage is in my economics class. I've gotten to spend about 2.5 months with her. She's really a unique personality, but she doesn't know this, but I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody right now. One of the reasons I asked her to be on the show is because one day I was coming out of the pickle bill and you had been working out and you're over there in your car loading up all this water. And I'm thinking, where the heck's she going with all this water? And then I realized the flood. You said, going over the church, to help out the flood victim people. And I'm like, okay, well, this is a different person, got a different thing. So the more I've talked to you, the more we've talked about it. Just now before we started, you're dropping bombs left and right on me. And I'm like, oh my God, now I can't think about what I'm supposed to be asking. So why don't you introduce yourself and we'll just figure out where this is going to go from here. But I am really excited. I really like you a lot. So I'll get that out of the way.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. So I came to Vol State straight out of high school. I was originally going to go for dental hygiene, and then I got married at 18, and I just did not have the mental capacity to study for everything that I needed for hygiene. So then I decided to switch to dental assisting.
Yeah.
I finished the dental assistant program. And then I worked as an oral surgeon assistant for 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
Made it to the top. I became a personal assistant there, so I kind of got to the top of what I could do there, unless I wanted to move on to management or something like that, which was not something I was interested in. So here I am, found myself back in college to finish my
How does it feel?
degree.
Because the one day in class, there was this weird moment where, you said you were 23. Now, to me, it's like you're a baby.
Right.
I'm like, 23 is cool. What's wrong with 23? But it's like everybody in our class was like, whoa, whoa, there's an adult among us. And I'm like, so 23 makes you, how do you feel being 23 in class? I just thought the reaction shocked me.
Right.
Because I know they all love you.
Right.
But at the same time, I thought, well, that's odd.
Honestly, I feel I'm more confident in myself as a person than I ever have been at this point. I feel like that's just something that you get with time. But
they'll figure that out eventually. We got some silly billies, if you want to use the old school phrase.
For sure. But you just kind of you learn yourself more. You know what you want to do more. So I didn't know really anything about myself at 18 years old when I started college for the first time. So I've been on that journey of kind of figuring out who I am and where I want to go with my future.
Really?
So I feel more dedicated to school this time around.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm like, I got to do this, or I'm going to be working as an oral surgeon assistant till I retire, which is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but you also know you don't want to be 23. And here I've hit my peak in life.
Right.
That's a pretty sad comment.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what? Since you've started this way, because I've been sitting over there saying, okay, Lord, give me a little direction here. And now I got it. One of the things, and Rachel that's out there, we've been talking about this together about trying to organize, I always hate to use the word club. There are so many Christians on this campus that both her and I just keep running into, both in class and out of class. And there just seems to be nothing for them. But then they got all this talent. They've got all these great personalities. And you keep thinking, why aren't we doing anything?
Right.
So sitting here listening to you, talking about, what am I going to do with my life? So do you believe we all have a calling?
Yeah,
okay.
100%. And I still feel like that's something that I'm still trying to figure out for sure. But at the end of the day, I feel like we're called to share the love and the grace of Jesus Christ. And I think that's really where, regardless of what your career is, or regardless of the path that you end up on, I feel like that's kind of what we're all called to do as Christians. Now, I feel like some people do end up in careers that are like full-time preaching the gospel. I don't really feel called to do that, but it could change.
You got the personality.
It could change. You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just
do you believe women can preach from the pulpit?
Yeah, I think
a lot of women have left the church over that.
Yeah.
So, since you mentioned it,
yeah,
Pastor
I think
Sierra Sage, the house of
I personally would not want to be a pastor. That's a very big responsibility. But
Okay.
yeah, I think women can. I think God can use anybody. I don't think
Mhm.
that you have to be a certain gender for
Mhm.
God to speak through you or to use you. So yeah, I disagree with the old school way of women can't preach or whatever it is. Everybody has a testimony and everybody has something that they can use, or
Well,
God can use
right.
you.
But what Rachel and I were talking about was, there's so much stuff in the Bible and then written about it that, God, what is it, the quote from Jeremiah? I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb, and I knew the plans I had for you.
Right.
Now, I'll be honest, I'm a lot older than you. I've made some poor choices in my life. I know
I
that.
have too.
There's been times when I could look back and God said, go left. Well, I went right. Go
We
right.
do
I
that.
went left, etc. But my life's not over yet. And
Right.
that's the real big deal.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm curious about with you, because having had you in class, I mean, when you talk, these younger ones, they do respect you. You can tell the way they defer to you. And if you're running late for class, I said, we can't start without Sierra. We got to have
Which
the
is
queen.
every day. That's
the
my
mayor's
downfall.
got to be in the house, right? As far as that goes. But and you can tell they react that way. So what I'm curious about is, I mean, how do you find out what you're supposed to do? Because I know you've chosen marketing or whatever, and he can use anything. I mean, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But is there that calling that, when you're standing in judgment and they go, good, my good and faithful servant, that's exactly what I wanted you to do?
I don't know 100%. Like I said, I don't feel like I've found that, where I'm like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. And maybe I will. Hopefully I will. I don't know if it's the longer that you're on earth and the closer you get to God and this revelation comes to you and you're like, this is what I'm meant to do. Maybe that will happen one day. But yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, I feel like it's just sharing, letting God use you as a vessel and whatever that looks like.
And what other talents and gifts you had obviously came from God.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, then that takes me back to the other thing. You shared a little bit, but it was real quick.
Yeah.
So you came up through the full gospel, spirit-filled, kind of almost, I hate to use the word Pentecostal because that's a title. Could be used for a lot of things.
Yeah.
So you came up through the old school word of knowledge, word of prophecy, etc.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
My dad was like the youth minister or the kids pastor, basically.
Okay.
So I helped a lot growing up. But yeah, growing up in church, they believe in speaking in tongues and the whole thing, waving the flags and all of that. They want to put their hands on you and pray for you. Yeah, so growing up.
Hallelujah, let that thing flow.
Yep. Yeah, so
Did you ever go down for prayer? Go down to get baptized?
Yeah.
To get filled? And I'm not making fun of him because I did.
Yeah.
So I'm not arguing.
I did.
With you.
I remember vividly. I think I was in like 3rd grade or something like that. And we went on a cruise.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we go on this cruise. It's our first cruise ever, and we get stuck in a tropical storm.
Oh, man.
And
I'd be doing some serious praying.
Yep. This boat is, I mean, it's just rocking. Like the servers are like
everybody
walking sideways.
Lies. They say, oh, you won't feel the waves. You won't.
No,
and
typically you don't. Typically you don't.
Right. But in this case,
this storm was bad. I mean, the waves were coming up over the windows. Like it was scary.
So you thought the end times was coming.
And I'm like, God, just please forgive me. Like whatever, please just let me survive this night.
So they'll have a baptism service to save the people before we die?
So it was the next Sunday. I went to church, and of course, they were more of a hell and brimstone type preacher.
So that's a hardcore.
Yeah. Well, back when I
lean toward grace. I don't lean toward judgment.
Me too.
Yeah.
And so that's been a part of my journey. But so he was more of a hell. Like, what if you die today and all this stuff, and that that pit in your stomach, and you're like, I gotta go pray.
So you went down.
So I looked at my grandma and I was like, I want to go pray, and so I did, and I felt like I was saved from that point on.
Awesome.
But and then in church camp, I got baptized.
Yeah.
And then later on in life, I got rebaptized because I felt like I was so young that I didn't really grasp the full.
Well, of course
thing,
not. Yeah.
So I
A
got
lot of things I haven't,
rebaptized.
a lot of things that have been revealed the last year and a half to me
Oh yeah.
at my age are finally, I
Oh
can't
yeah.
imagine being that young and going, okay, this is pretty intense, you know.
I mean, it's an ongoing thing. It is a journey. It's not a one
No,
time thing.
that's a
It's a
great way to put it. You're
lifelong
right.
journey and you're always
Right.
gonna mess up because we're
Okay.
human.
Well, let me be
And
selfish then, real quick.
mhm,
So, what Rachel and I are talking about is kind of that same thing. You
mhm.
meet people, and you know better than I do on
Yeah.
this campus. It doesn't take much to find broken people. They're
No.
everywhere. They're in
Well,
every
yeah.
class.
100%.
They'll come up and say, "Yeah, I'm sorry I wasn't here for my test," and then
Mhm.
I kind of make fun, not of them in front of everybody,
Right.
but behind the scenes, they'll share
Mhm.
stuff. Rachel's told me about several. I mean, they're heart wrenching.
Yeah.
And I know we're hired to teach economics and accounting, but at the same time, you're that Christian.
Mhm.
I mean, so hey, be our advisor. What would you do? How do you reach these people? How do you communicate with them? What's the best way to approach them? What would you do?
Like I said,
And you're a marketing major,
yeah.
so market us.
At the end of the day, I always go back to the love and grace of Jesus because
Yeah,
he died for all of us. It doesn't
yeah,
matter what you've walked through. It doesn't matter what you've done.
yeah.
None of that matters at the end of the
Right,
day. That's religion where you have to follow these guidelines and you have to be perfect and you have
right.
to look perfect on the outside. And Matthew,
That's
it's
great.
talking about
Yeah.
how Jesus came to fulfill the law, but he sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
Well, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I'm gonna start crying here in a minute because you're speaking my language, and I'm like, gee whiz.
Well, sorry, I've been praying all day that
Uh,
I just say what I need to
I
say.
know, and I prayed before I came in here. It was so sweet, and I'm not trying to make this about Rachel, but I came out of the men's room and I turned, and all of a sudden it was her, and she's not supposed to be here today. And then she brought those things, and I was very nervous.
Yeah.
I
Me
usually
too. I've been
And
nervous.
it's not because I didn't think you're going to be
Right.
great enough and comfortable with you, but there's something about in your spirit. I mean, geez, I'm sorry, but there's something in your spirit I felt since the first time I met you. And I said, Lord, I'd love to have this woman on the podcast, but I'd love to know you better. And I said, there's something about you. And it's like my pastor says that God takes you to people, not
Yeah.
places.
Yep.
And you and I did not meet by accident.
No.
And I don't know where we're going from here.
I don't either.
But God, I love you, man. I'm like, whew. I mean, gee whiz. All right, well,
No,
let's try to keep
no.
going. Okay, but so I mean, okay,
Okay.
what do I do? What do we do? I mean, we got to pray about it.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
got
yeah.
a local
Yeah.
church here that's willing to come alongside, not try to convert you to their church or whatever,
Right.
but try to, just they want to do exactly what you were just
Right.
saying. And,
Yeah.
we'd love to be a part of it, but to get it started, what do you do? How do you reach? I mean, these are your people.
So like I was back to Matthew,
Mhm.
Jesus, he was reaching the broken people
Mhm.
and the non-religious people. The religious people are the people who didn't believe in him. They were the one they're like, this is not the Messiah,
I know, yeah.
And they were the ones that like, let's kill him, let's do all these things. And but I think we're called to serve for one.
Right.
And that's gonna look different for everybody based on your gifts and your talents.
Right.
And like taking the waters to East Tennessee, that shows the love and you're being the hands and feet of Jesus, and I feel like that's what we're
it's like
supposed
my
to do.
view of you changed with that one moment. First of all, you were fun to talk to. I'm seeing you outside of class, and you're going to take part of your weekend, which, if I remember, it was a beautiful weekend, and you're going to load water and drive to East Tennessee.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people here, not to be judgmental, that are not going to do that.
Right.
And part of it, maybe they have to work, but there's a lot here that will.
Yeah.
And that's the part, we got to find them, and then we got to find some way for them to serve, because I'm like you. When you serve, you really connect with what the concepts of God really, in my opinion, are all about.
Yeah, definitely. And you build that community, which is what it's all about.
Right.
You got to find that community to keep you accountable and to help you. I mean, you can't do it alone.
No.
So I feel like even like the disciples, they were a team. You
Right.
know, they were a community that they had to lean on
They weren't
each
the
other.
most functional team at the
No.
beginning. These
And
people had egos, attitudes,
exactly.
all kinds of
They
stuff.
were alcoholics, like all the things, you know? But that's what's so beautiful about it,
Yeah.
is that we don't have to be perfect. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm so strong on the relationship with Jesus. Are you in your word? Are you reading?
Right.
Are you trying to get the deeper meaning of what it's saying? Are you praying? Like, those are the things. Are you in community? Those are the things that I feel like are super important.
Well, you know, it's like, where do you go?
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's like if you and I are sitting in the middle of class right now, bawling and praying at the same time,
Everybody's gonna be like,
there's going to be a few people going, okay, a little something went down somewhere.
Right.
We need to talk about. I mean, obviously, the school's probably going to look a little negative on that, but we do have the authority to create clubs as long as they're from students, and the students are here. The maturity's here. They're just beautiful people that play instruments and do stuff. But it's what you just said. Almost everybody that's sat in your seat has talked about their relationship with God, have all said, I don't want to go to a rock concert. I mean, I like praise and worship music. A lot of people do. But I don't want to go to a rock concert. I don't need a smoke machine or whatever. I want a relationship with Jesus, a relationship. And that takes on a totally different form. And that's the hard thing a lot of times, because I could do all the statistics, but I don't want to stop your whole flow here. But the statistics are not good from your generation. The majority of you say, I'm spiritual, but not religious.
Right.
You're not raised religious. Even the act of saying prayers at the dinner table. I was just reading a new study before I came over here to get some fresh stuff for you. And it was really sad. I mean, and it's really heart-wrenching because the number of people not having any kind of religious affiliation with church and or the act of praying at home, you know, with your father, mother, brother, sister, whoever it is, most likely you will never continue in any kind of religious path. And so if the majority is already disconnected and it's going to get worse, then your generation's the largest generation. So where are we headed?
I mean, in the Bible, it talks about these times, you know, where they're saying evil is good and good is evil. And I feel like that's where we're headed. I mean, I believe in the Bible, and that's what keeps, even with the politics, I'm like, okay, like we have two candidates that are neither one of them are very good.
No. I've always been willing to go down that road.
And so you're like, okay, well, do I not vote? No, that's not really a good option either.
Right.
I got to pick one or the other.
And both of them are severely aged. And compared to your generation, you represent the majority.
Yep.
And we have two super senior citizens here stumbling through everything. And I'm like, I just thought that was a cruel irony to play on your generation, because many of you, it's your first time to vote.
Right.
And I have two, octogenarians there barely on a ventilator trying to, to enact. And we could go down that road, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and you're trying to pick the lesser of the two evils, and it's hard. It's not an easy thing, and it's.
So I go back to where you go to church. I mean, do you go to? I mean, you're not in the Pentecostal church anymore.
No.
I'm getting the vibe.
I'm in a non-denominational church now, because back again, I don't like the religion. I don't want the set of rules and the judgment. I feel like that's where people are very judgmental. They think that you have to follow this exact rules, and if you're not perfect on the outside, and those are the people who have things hidden in their pockets that they're doing behind closed doors that people don't know about, but on the outside they look perfect.
Oh yeah.
And I don't like that, because none of us are perfect, and we're never going to be until we're with Jesus. And that's and Jesus, and we wouldn't need him if we were perfect.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
That's why he came, is because we can never be perfect.
Right.
So I don't like the religion. So yeah, I moved to a non-denominational church.
Do you enjoy it? I mean, do you what they're doing, or do they do a lot of outreach or whatever?
Yeah, they do. And the main topic of pretty much every Sunday is being a disciple, being in doing the things that disciples did, which is like being in community and serving and being like giving to the church and tithing and all the things and reading your Bible. That's the main thing, reading your Bible, because a lot of Christians don't even read their Bible.
And I confess that's one of my areas of weakness.
Me
right?
too.
Yeah.
Me too.
And
I
worry about, can God really use you if you don't know the word?
Yeah.
Because once again, I go back when we met with this guy, one of the things we were both, really stricken by in a positive way was, their whole thing was to branch out. It wasn't inward, it was outward, and it was service, and it was reaching out to people. And it's like what we said. So go back to you. If you had a real need, I'm a Christian now, I know you're a Christian now. Where would you go pray before class if it's at a moment right now? And I'm not going to mention this in any detail, but like what you shared with me, that story you shared with me was heart-wrenching. And I thought, my God, that's pretty scary. And so if that was something that was causing you to have a problem on a test and it was a crisis right then, as a Christian, to be able to pray for somebody right then, and I understand that can get a little touchy, but you're also adults. But then where would you go on this campus? I mean, it's like we've made places for everybody else, but not for this.
Oh, and once again,
I got a problem, but I'll be very honest with you. I got a problem with
100%.
that.
Once again, in the end days, it's not going to be. We've had it easy as Christians in the U.S.
Absolutely.
We don't get.
I haven't been asked to do much.
Right.
I'll be honest with you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we don't get killed for our faith.
No.
Not yet, anyways.
No.
I think there's a time that's coming where we're going to have to stand up for what we believe in, and it's not going to be good, but it will be in the end, and that's all that really matters. But Christians are, we're not allowed to be open, and it's really difficult in today's age to be open and out about it, but then we're called to be open and share our faith. And
that's what I'm saying.
So you have to find this fine line, and I'm not sure what that fine line is either. I mean, that's
we got to figure out a way to do it on this campus, because the need is here, the people are here, the hurting's here, the broken's here, and I mean, we're not professional, pastors by any stretch of the imagination, but a lot of what I read in the Bible is you don't have to be.
Right.
You know, I mean, if you love the Lord with all your heart, trust not to your own understanding, seek His will in all you do, and He'll direct your path.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
And it's like, and this guy's letter just came out of nowhere, and that's like, these things are not random. They keep happening, and when we look back, it's, we were talking about the other day, it's you look back and there's a steady stream of events, and then here we are. Like, I was going to retire. She applied for a job here that, considering how that happened, was a miracle, I think. And I mean, and then you just look around at doing this podcast, meeting you. I mean, it's like, it's nonstop. And so I'm finally at the point, and a lot of other people on this campus will listen and follow. Go do it. In other words, walk in faith. I mean, you talk it, can you walk it?
Yeah, and it's not easy. It's not. Because...
No, I don't think all of a sudden now, hey, we got the bun cakes today.
We're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, that's right. But it's not going to be. And do you believe in the devil?
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
I do too.
Yeah,
I'm not crazy.
No, he's working. He's working overtime.
Oh, he's working overtime, and he's behind the scenes, and he knows where the weak spots are, and he will.
And he presses the button every time.
Absolutely, he hits it right on the nail, right? And if you're going to try to do something like this, you think he's going to sit back and go, "Yeah, I'm going to let that Ball State thing kind of percolate for a while, let it take root, and then I'll show up."
Right?
No, you show up at the beginning, not at the end. So
and he doesn't go after people who don't have something to go after. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's not.
Oh, he knows where my weak spot is, so you can count on that.
We all have them because we're human. And we have to try to deny that flesh every day, but it's not easy.
All right. Well, I got to ask you a few more. We can stay here for a long time. I can tell you about. I know I can't do that because I'm actually going to have class.
Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to be in class with me.
Too.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to start without us, right? So we can keep going. All right. So a couple other things real quick. So I know you've talked about your spiritual whatever. So how do you feel just in general? I know the election's over. Do you feel good going forward? I mean, you're in school. I don't know where you go from here, your Christian walk.
Yeah.
I mean, are you somebody that feels good about the future? You feel like, all right, things are going okay. It's going to be all right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I do care who's president. I mean, I guess it's a big deal, but on both sides, there's so much bias. It's really hard to know what's actually true and what's actually not true.
I know, but what I'm really more interested in is how do you feel going forward as a young woman in America, 2024? You've got some more schooling to do. I mean, do you feel like down the road, if I do this education, everything's going to be all right? It's going to be great?
Yeah, I think so. And I think if not, then God's going to give me another path to take.
Sweet.
And that's where my head is at.
And so you have total faith. You don't.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's all I can do. I tried doing my way. I tried doing my plan and doing all that
well, you're
stuff.
hitting a nerve with me now. Yeah.
It didn't work.
The David plan didn't work out too good at all.
You kind of just got to go with the flow. And
I know. But since you've been through a full gospel, that's what I try to tell people that know me or have recently met me. They think I was like this all the time. No, I got born again. He fleshed out a new body, a new heart, a new mind. The way I wake up in the morning and start my day and drive to Vol State is totally different than just a year and a half ago. And then when I get here, I totally try to look for any and every opportunity. Now, I'm not running up to people like, come here, Jesus loves you. You will come with me now. We're going to knock you out of the ground. Yeah, we're going to knock you down the ground. Here's Sierra. Sierra, you sit on him. I'll pray for him. We'll cast the demons out of him, but move on. No, I'm not going to be employed long enough. I don't know if you'll be here much longer after that, too.
Yeah,
you might be invited to transfer. Yeah, but I mean, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Even my friends say, hey, you don't want to get together anymore. Well, I mean, if they're good friends and they believe in God, I'm okay with it. And it's not that I'm trying to be judgmental, but the time is running out on me and the time is running out on us. And I feel like that we have a responsibility to use the time wisely. Now, do I have wants and desires? Yeah, I'm a human being. Of course I do.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to shortchange Jesus in that final judgment call. You know, it might get a little critical there in that last moment and say, enter my faithful servant, or hey, did you have a good time? Okay, well, you're going over this way. Turn right.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
But you feel good about going forward. I know you said you were married, which obviously I didn't know. It doesn't matter. I'm not judging you. So does that feel weird being amongst all these young people that seem to be rather naive about relationships? Or what do you even say about relationships with these people? What I observe from up there teaching is I'm not sure this is the time I would want to be dating people.
It's scary. I've tried dating since I got divorced. It's weird. It's not.
Okay.
I mean, once again,
I think you're nice looking. You're funny as hell. You got a great personality. You're spiritually anchored. You got a goal. You got a goal going forward.
And I feel like that's the hard thing. Is I feel like, for one, a lot of men feel they feel intimidated by that, especially if they're not doing the same exact thing, you know. And there's a lot of people who claim to be Christians that are not actually walking in that. They just say, "Oh yeah, I'm a Christian," because that's like the thing to do, I guess. I don't know, but they're not really walking in that.
Okay.
So I feel like I feel like a lot of people are intimidated by that, but I also don't really give anybody the time of day unless I know that it's going to be something that's worth my time.
Sure,
I'm not going to waste my time.
And you want to be spiritually equally yoked.
Exactly.
But then your economic, future, your desires, what you're looking for. It's really sad if you look at the statistics, the amount of men that don't graduate, the amount of men that drop out, the amount of men that don't go to college now. I mean, all the numbers have tipped in favor of women against men. And even though I'm not a counselor at school, I get to know some of these guys. It's real sad. And when they talk about trying to date, it's not. I mean, they almost need some kind of program to help them. They don't know how to create community. They don't know how to talk. I mean, it really is sad. And depression, anxiety, suicide amongst young men is through the roof.
Yep. They also don't know how to lead, and I feel like that's very important as a man to know how to lead, because spiritually we are called to be submissive to our husbands. But how am I supposed to submit to you if you can't lead me?
Yeah, we could have a conversation about that. Yeah, that's
so it's really, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know if a lot of moms just like Like, here, you're my
So
baby
you think
boy.
it's
Like, I'm gonna.
mama, it was mama's fault, huh?
I don't know. I don't know what happened, where the disconnect is, but it's not looking too hot. So
Yeah.
once again, I'm just trusting in God that He's gonna bring the right man whenever the time is right. Because
Well, believe it or not, I'm in the line with you.
yeah,
Because I've done it my way and it hasn't worked.
yeah,
I don't have a great track record,
yeah.
but I
Me
got to
too.
tell you, I'm feeling good. I have a vibe. I think there's something over the horizon. And
Yep.
to be very blunt, I just put my faith in God.
Yeah.
And I believe He's going to answer.
That's
He
really
said
all
He
you can
would.
do. That's really
And I
all you can
also
do.
asked Him, I also want a spiritual partner. I
Mhm.
don't want just somebody that's beautiful and smart and
Right.
intelligent. Those are all nice things, though.
Of course.
But to have a spiritual partner today in the environment we're in and where I am in my personal walk with
Mhm.
God, I'm not going to substitute
Yep.
anybody who doesn't believe for that. So,
Yep.
all right,
Me
we
too.
got okay. We got to end on a high. I could talk really for a lot longer about this, but anyway, one, I'm so glad you did this. This is so much fun.
Thanks for having me. I
It
had a good
really
time too.
makes me feel. I feel energized. I'm ready to rock, man.
Let's
We're
go.
going to get in class and kick butt and take names,
Let's
but
go.
I always like to end on a real positive note. So just tell me something, just something good, something that, the people that are working back there, on the control panel go, all right. Something uplifting. I don't know, anything you want to say.
Honestly,
And it can be personal, it can be group, whatever.
I feel good to be here because
Really?
yeah, I feel like I got a second chance at really figuring out what I want to do. I got married at 18,
Okay.
so I feel like I would have been on that. I don't even know where I'd be right now, to be honest. But I feel like I got a second chance at really figuring out who I am and what I want to do and get my education so that I can.
Well, I'm going to ask a self-serving question before we close. How much longer are you going to be here?
Like probably like a year.
Well, you mind if I put you down for the volunteer list for the
Yeah.
new thing we're going to try to do?
Yeah.
That may be the reason why we're both here.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
All right. Well, man, I don't know what to say, but I had a great time. She was absolutely fantastic. If you watched it, you enjoy it, please feel free to share it with friends, family, whoever. And if you want to be on the podcast, well, now that you know Sierra, Ms. Richmond's over in the business building. AJ's always running around campus somewhere. He has the most bright, beautiful shirts you can find. Stanley is always over here, a little bit more unique schedule. So reach out to anybody, and we'd be glad to have you. So God bless you and have a happy day.